Coming up on Cronkite News, Arizona is no stranger to heated political discourse, but has this election season been particularly fierce? What political experts have to say.
Plus, social media is making it easier for children and teens to get a hold of dangerous drugs like fentanyl. What parents need to know to keep their kids safe.
And later, the Suns open their season tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. What we can expect to see from them this season.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Maddie Fries.
And I'm Ryan Tismaneski. Thank you for joining us.
Campaigns often get heated, but experts say this season has been particularly bad. The latest example is the sparring between gubernatorial candidates Kari Lake and Katie Hobbs over the debate that wasn't. Cronkite News reporter John Brown is in our Washington bureau explaining the state of uncivil discourse and debate.
Secretary of State is now often a high-stakes race. You wouldn't know it from the recent debate between Mark Finchem and Adrian Fontes.
Adrian Fontes had some dramatically bad moments. In fact, he was recklessly irresponsible and deserving the boot.
Fontes hit right back.
What he did was engage in a violent insurrection and try to overturn the very Constitution that holds this nation together.
And that exchange was relatively mild for the 2022 political season, when civil discourse has either been silence or a shouting match between candidates. Some are calling the state of our discourse uncivil.
The larger discourse in our society, and particularly the discourse that we see among and between elected officials, has been seriously degraded over the last decade plus.
Norman Ornstein from the American Enterprise Institute says the tribalization of politics and the impact of social media are largely to blame for our uncivil discourse. And he says the American political system does not encourage healthy debates.
That's not the way our political system is working right now. And it's a danger to democracy.
But is there always a need to be civil in order to win an election? Arizona political consultant Paul Ben says it depends on the type of race and the voter targeted.
There's no motivation for people to have any sort of civil discourse or sit down with others because they know exactly who they have to appeal to.
Like any problem, Ashley Berner says the first step to solving it is talking about it. And the Johns Hopkins University professor says that starts with young people.
Not talking about politics is the wrong answer. I think we need to embrace it, but to give students and young people the tools, really, to begin to have meaningful disagreement.
Berner is not hopeful that anything will change in the short term, but she expects candidates to set a strong example for civility in the long term. In Washington, John Brown, Cronkite News.
Despite the tone of the campaigning, partisanship is not high on voters' list of candidate attributes. A survey last month by the Center for the Future of Arizona found that almost 2/3 of voters say they prefer candidates who are willing to work across the aisle to get things done.
As Election Day gets closer, the race for Arizona's next governor continues to heat up. Democratic candidate Katie Hobbs had an interview last night with Arizona PBS host Ted Simons after she declined to debate her opponent, Republican Kari Lake. Lake is expected to have a Clean Elections interview on Sunday. That will air on AZTV at 5 p.m. this Sunday.
Up to 6,000 Arizona voters were sent the wrong mail-in ballots. A system error caused some voters to be sent ballots that only included federal races. Arizona requires proof of citizenship to vote in state elections. Federal elections don't have this requirement. This means voters who don't have proof of citizenship on file with the state are classified as federal-only voters and are sent ballots with only national races. The Secretary of State's office says a database error caused a small percentage of voters to receive these ballots by mistake. New ballots have already been sent out, and voters should see them in their mailboxes soon. Election Day is less than 3 weeks away. Cronkite News has full coverage on the air and online leading up to the big day. You can find candidate profiles, proposition breakdowns, and recordings of past debates on our election homepage at azpbs.org/vote22.
Gas prices dropped about 3 cents a gallon over the last week. AAA says this is a result of low demand, but gas prices are expected to keep rising. President Joe Biden announced his plan to help bring down gas prices in a press conference today. Biden announced 3 steps his administration believes will help. The first is the sale of 15 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. That would meet his promise to release a total of 180 million barrels over 6 months. Biden also announced a plan to buy oil for when the SPR, for when prices go down. And he called on oil and gas companies to increase production and lower prices.
In Tucson, the police department just seized tens of thousands of fentanyl pills. It's the latest drug bust amid a growing concern across the state and country of the dangers and availability of fentanyl. Officers were investigating a call about narcotic sales when they found armed residents in an apartment complex. They arrested a woman heading towards the apartment with 3,300 fentanyl pills, other illegal drugs, and stolen property. The officers were then able to find the suspected supplier a few miles away. They seized another 53,000 fentanyl pills, including rainbow fentanyl, more illegal drugs and guns, and nearly $65,000 in cash.
A new survey shows that roughly 17% of Arizona middle and high schoolers reported talking about the risks of fentanyl with parents. Cronkite News reporter Connor McGill looks into how social media is having an impact on the availability of the drug.
Social media is changing the way drug dealers are selling products like fentanyl. With a simple click of a button, someone can get these types of drugs directly delivered to them. An advocacy group in Glendale hopes to educate parents on the matter. In a room full of parents, educators, and professionals, the topic of conversation is social media and fentanyl. In today's world of social media, Sherry Oz, special agent with the Drug Enforcement Administration, says it's easier to access drugs like these.
It used to be to get in trouble, you had to leave the house. You had to go find trouble. Now you can sit home and order it right on your phone, and it'll come right to your door. You can have it delivered.
In a recent survey, 70% of Arizona students say using fentanyl poses a great risk. This is one of the reasons parents like Denise Carlson are coming to events like this to learn more about fentanyl and how kids are getting their hands on it.
Was another thing that I've heard it because my husband's a fireman, so I hear a lot of things about it, but I didn't really know the potential of what's happening in school.
The use of social media applications are a hotbed for drug traffickers. The groups use applications like Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter to advertise, connect, and exchange goods. Master Sergeant Tommy Morga with the Arizona National Guard Drug Demand Reduction and Outreach Team says Snapchat is one of the most popular platforms among teenagers.
35% of youth are on this application. So they obviously know it's the one that's being used the most. So why not use the one that they know they can either get the most contact with our kids?
The minimum age to join Snapchat is 13 years old, which means kids are being targeted as early as middle school. Carlson admits she needs to know more about Snapchat in particular.
There's a lot of parents like me that don't know enough about fentanyl or Snapchat in general. I mean, like we said, we let our kids use Snapchat at an early age, and we really didn't know enough about it, and now we might be backtracking on what we're going to let them do.
Morga says education like this can help parents have good communication with their teenagers.
Know who they're talking to. There are ways to monitor the social media applications. I would say the biggest thing is to just have an open conversation with their kids.
One good resource for parents to get more information is TalkNowAZ.com, which has movies, guides, and even help on how to start the conversation. In the newsroom, Connor McGill, Cronkite News.
Short-term rentals continue to boom around the state, but if you own one in the city of Mesa, you now have to get a special license to continue to legally run it. Loud parties and parking issues have been among the many concerns that residents and businesses have with short-term rentals. The Mesa City Council is hoping to better manage these short-term rentals by now requiring a special license. Property owners are also required to notify neighbors that the property is being rented and provide emergency contact information for complaints. The City Council is set to consider fees for the new license and violations. The new ordinance will go into effect February 1st. Other cities around the state have also implemented new guidelines for short-term rentals, such as Glendale, ahead of the upcoming Super Bowl.
Coming up on Cronkite News, U.S. Representative Ruben Gallego led a roundtable discussion at a Planned Parenthood yesterday. We'll take a look at who was there and what was discussed.
Plus, A new study shows some hair products could lead to an increased risk of cancer.
This is the moment that we've been waiting for. There's something different about you, a new brightness in your eyes.
Welcome to the Hotel Portofino.
How utterly charming. Something is coming, can you feel it now?
My dreams have been invigorated.
We like stories that are going to elevate us.
Feel it now.
What is your sense now of the situation?
Something is coming.
They gave us possibilities.
This is the opportunity to share my recipes.
Feel it
There are heroes everywhere you look.
Something is coming.
You're going deep into the heart of America.
The Holocaust is a story that Americans have to reckon with, too.
This is pure exploration.
Wow!
I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
U.S. Representative Ruben Gallego led a roundtable discussion at a Planned Parenthood in Phoenix yesterday. It was an opportunity for experts and advocates to voice their concerns about abortion access in Arizona. Reporter Geraldine Torellis attended the event and has more on what was discussed.
There were a multitude of backgrounds and experiences among those who participated in the discussion. However, their message to Gallego was the same, a fear of what's next for people who may seek an abortion in Arizona since Roe v. Wade was overturned. Medical providers shared stories of what their days look like since the Supreme Court reversed Roe. They keep their phones on 24/7 to talk with scared patients throughout their weekends and evenings. Experts and advocates are worried about what the future of healthcare may look like in Arizona, particularly in underserved communities, if a pre-statehood ban on abortion is allowed to go into effect. Already, legislation limiting abortions has had traumatic and costly ramifications. Phoenix mother Morgan Tucker was pregnant with twins when doctors told her one fetus would likely not survive. To save her own life and that of the other baby, she made the difficult choice to get an abortion but had to go elsewhere.
I know how cruel and horrifying this law is because I lived it. 2 years ago, I had to travel hundreds of miles out of state for the abortion that I needed. I know how difficult this can be logistically, financially, mentally, physically, and really just all the ways.
Earlier this month, an appeals court blocked enforcement of the pre-statehood abortion ban. Arizona Attorney General Mark Brnovich has said he's weighing next steps, but that he believes the near-total ban on abortion should be the law of the land. In the newsroom, Geraldine Torellis, Cronkite News.
Women who frequently use chemicals to straighten their hair could have a higher risk for developing uterine cancer. The American Cancer Society estimates there will be nearly 66,000 new uterine cancer cases in the U.S. this year, and mortality rates from the disease are rising, particularly among Black women. A study released on Monday shows that chemicals in hair relaxers may increase uterine cancer risk over time. The report came from the National Institutes of Health and shows that Black women make up the majority of those who use chemical straighteners. The uterine cancer risk by age 70 for women is about 1.6%, and that jumps to 4% for those who use chemical hair straighteners more than 4 times a year.
A new report out from the CDC suggests that minorities are more likely to be hospitalized for the flu, and they're less likely to be vaccinated against it. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention looked at Hispanic, Black, American Indian, and Alaska Native adults over the past 13 flu seasons. They found that these minority groups were up to 1.8 times more likely to be hospitalized than white adults. The researchers also found that these groups were less likely to be vaccinated due to several factors. Those include distrust of the medical system and concerns of side effects. To remedy this disparity, researchers are pushing for more access to vaccination services and to fight misinformation about vaccines.
Flu season is an unfriendly reminder that fall is finally upon us. But when will Arizona start seeing some cooler fall temps? Luke Vickery joins us from the Cronkite News Weather Center with our forecast.
Fall temperatures are on the way. We're going to see a nice temperature drop coming soon once this high pressure system decides to make its way out, and we're going to have a nice low that's going to come from the north, meaning it's going to bring a lot of that polar air, a lot of that cooler air, and depending on how far this low moves down south towards our area, that's going to depict how much rainfall we get and also how cool our temperatures get in the next coming days. Here's a timeline of when we could see that rainfall move into our area. Saturday, 8 p.m., Sedona, Flagstaff, those higher elevation areas. You're going to see most of that rainfall on Saturday night. But Sunday morning, here's 9:30 a.m., the Globe, Payson area, a little bit east of Phoenix. Even Phoenix could see some of that rainfall early Sunday morning. Definitely a lot of clouds are going to be over our area that morning as well. Then Flagstaff, Widow Rock area, you can even see some of those pink shades up towards the Grand Canyon. That's ice, where that polar mass is bringing down such cold air that you could see some of the snowfall that day as well. But 91 degrees in Phoenix tomorrow, so our temperatures really won't cool down much until Sunday. 74 degrees with that 30% chance of rainfall. And look at these temperatures, these lows in the 50s. The last time we saw that was May 12th this year. So those fall temperatures are moving in, so I hope you guys will enjoy them as I will. In the Cronkite News Weather Center, I'm Luke Vickery.
I'm Emily Bernstein. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. The Suns are looking for revenge against the Dallas Mavericks in their season opener tonight.
Go right up in here and start having some fun.
Such a thrill to be able to do this.
Recreation is the gateway drug to conservation.
How do you create that perfect straight edge?
You can do anything.
History is today. Chasing the American dream.
Experience something personal.
A place of imagination.
I can go anywhere I want to go.
You guys are just gonna love it.
An entertainment experience unlike anything.
There's something for everyone with Passport on the PBS Video app.
On Masterpiece Mystery.
Evil can find its roots so easily in an English village.
The landscape of criminal investigation.
Murder, almost certainly.
Modern policing methods.
We endeavor to do our best.
We're working hard to solve this case.
And to make sure justice gets done.
It's a new adventure.
And the rest, as they say, is mystery.
I can hardly wait.
Art was one of the powers that made life life. I think we all believed that.
This is a real life story of a real live person.
This was my only connection to my culture.
Fight the power.
Our stories deserve to be heard.
You're passionate and you respect your heritage. That is a perfect recipe.
Now is the time for the Reformation. Now is the time to rebuild the nation.
That's amazing.
You're making me cry.
Some girls can go out there and just steal a spotlight.
This is the moment that we've all been waiting for.
Everyone has something to contribute to humanity. The arts are the thing that does that.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Welcome back to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Emily Bernstein. The Phoenix Suns tip off their season tonight against a familiar foe in the Dallas Mavericks, a matchup that has been brewing since the end of last season. Cronkite News reporter Michael Donahue is at Footprint Center with more on the much-anticipated season opener.
The excitement is building here at the Footprint Center as the Suns get ready to take the court to open the season. This one has a little extra emotion behind it as they face the team that eliminated them from the playoffs last year. Who can forget Game 7 of the Western Conference semifinals? The last time these two teams faced, Dallas thumped Phoenix by 33 points, ending a historic season that saw the Suns set a franchise record with 64 wins. There's been plenty of attention calling this a potential revenge game, but members of the Suns aren't putting too much weight on the first game of the season.
I'm looking in the mirror and say, "Are you excited today, Mon?" Like, I don't. What I would imagine, yeah. I mean, I have the butterflies and the angst, the nerves, all that stuff.
I'd rather win a series than win the first game of the season. So I ain't too much revenge off being 0-1 and 1-0. So I feel like if they lost, I feel like they would rather have that series than winning the first game.
This place is already filling up. Plenty of fans are running around with the purple and orange on. They probably want to exit tonight with the Suns being 1-0, but even if they're not, it's just one game and a very long season. In Phoenix, Michael Donahue, Cronkite News.
Other big news heading into the year, last season's Sixth Man of the Year finalist Cam Johnson is moving into the starting lineup in place of Jay Crowder, who is not currently with the team. Johnson and the Suns had been working on an extension of Cam's rookie deal, but as of Monday afternoon, there was no agreement. On his current contract, the restricted free agent forward is only guaranteed to stay with the team through this season. Despite not reaching an agreement, Johnson says he wants to be in Phoenix and is not letting the situation bother him.
Kind of just moving on. Either way, I'm excited to play this year. It doesn't change anything about what's going on now. It doesn't change my approach. I was excited for this season for many reasons, and the contract doesn't necessarily figure into that.
After tonight, the Suns will go on a short weekend road trip for their next two games against the Portland Trailblazers and LA Clippers. Now to another member of the Phoenix basketball community. Brittany Griner's 32nd birthday was yesterday, prompting renewed calls for her release from a Russian prison. The Mercury star was convicted on drug possession charges after Russian authorities found vape cartridges containing cannabis oil in her luggage. She released a statement through her lawyers yesterday, saying, quote, "Thank you everyone for fighting so hard to get me home." The basketball world has expressed support for Griner, including Warriors star Steph Curry, who spoke during their ring ceremony last night.
We want to continue to use our platform and the opportunity to shout out a very special member of the basketball community. Brittany Griner's birthday is today. She's 32 years old. We want to continue to let her name be known, and we pray that it's been 243 days since she's been wrongfully incarcerated in Russia, and we hope that she comes home soon and everybody's doing their part to get her home.
Griner's appeal hearing is set for October 25th. The Sun Devils will hit the field this weekend for the first time since their upset win over Washington. They get back to Pac-12 play against the Cardinal on the road. Cronkite News reporter Lindsay Selzer has more on what to expect on Saturday, including who will start at quarterback.
Coming off a bye week, ASU football is ready to take on Stanford, but not without a challenge.
Safety Chris Edmonds says that Stanford's big receivers are something that the Sun Devils are planning to adjust to.
We got to be physical. We got to come in and establish physicalness at the beginning of the game. We got to make they're great at high pointing the ball and going to jump and get the ball, so we got to match that.
Defensive back Ro Torrance says that practicing for this game, they are implementing a pressured defense, where the defensive back and linebackers play much closer to the line of scrimmage than they normally would when defending against the passing game.
I feel like that's our identity as a team. I feel like that's what we do well. We play man coverage, make the quarterback get the ball out of his hand fast, make him uncomfortable.
Sun Devils will do their best to size up to the Stanford Cardinal.
With quarterback Emory Jones starting this weekend. In Tempe, Lindsay Selzer, Cronkite News.
ASU hopes to notch their second straight win and get to mark the 500 mark. That's it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Maddie.
Coming up after the break, Halloween is just around the corner and decorations are going up across the valley. But are all decorations a good idea? Find out why leaving this Halloween staple outside could get you fined.
This is the moment that we've been waiting for.
There's something different about you, a new brightness in your eyes.
Welcome to the Hotel Portofino.
How utterly charming. Something is coming, can you feel it now?
My dreams have been invigorated.
We like stories that are going to elevate us.
Feel it now.
What is your sense now of the situation?
Something is coming.
They gave us possibilities.
This is the opportunity to share my recipes.
Feel it now.
There are heroes everywhere you look.
Something is coming.
You're going deep into the heart of America.
Feel it now.
The Holocaust is a story that Americans have to reckon with, too.
This is pure exploration.
Wow.
I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
With Halloween right around the corner, you might be thinking now is a good time to put those jack-o'-lanterns out on display. But here in Arizona, you have to be careful when doing so. Pumpkins can draw javelinas and other wildlife into urban areas, which can be dangerous for both people and the animals themselves. If you're going to display pumpkins, the Arizona Game and Fish Department recommends putting them in windows or on elevated surfaces that wildlife can't reach. In some areas, intentionally leaving out pumpkins for wildlife is illegal and can earn you a hefty fine.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.